Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and today I want to be looking at could Ross Perot have won in 1992? And actually, I think it's very possible he could have won. Now, of course, this is the coulda, woulda, shoulda, but, what are you going to do? Uh, it's an interesting topic to think about, and I'll explain the map in just a second. But if you're new to the channel, likes, comments, subscriptions, they always do help, and I greatly appreciate them. And I want to thank everybody who has done so in the past. So let's dive into this. So the map is a possible route to victory for Perot. Now, a map like this, given the era, would definitely lend some credence to the idea that Republicans, and specifically George Bush, that's HW, not W, um, were hurt by Perot. But most analysis indicates it's probably not the case. But I did go off of the states where Perot had the basically in order of where Perot got the most votes for his campaign. Maine nearly voted for him. He was within 8% of winning the state, and that was the closest he got to winning a state. And for getting 19% of the vote, that's really good that he almost won a state, considering how even his support was across the country. And the reason why he only got 19%, in my opinion, is because he dropped out of the race after Bill Clinton won the nomination. Now, there's a lot of debate as to why Perot dropped out. But at the end of the day, when he did re-enter, his poll number stayed relatively low until he was allowed to debate. When he did debate, his poll numbers rose significantly, and they stayed there. So the debates were definitely a net positive for Perot, and I'm going to assume that that would remain the case if he hadn't dropped out of the race, because Perot actually led in polls at one point. And for that to happen, people actually not only have to support him, but say they're going to support him. And whether or not they would have is a different story altogether. But the other important thing to realize is that it wasn't just one or two polls that had him competitive. It was most major polling firms had him as competitive until he dropped. And when I say dropped, I mean actually dropped out and said he was no longer going to run. Now, that's crazy, because you'd think after, 1 or 2 days of that happening, people who would normally support Republicans or Democrats would be like, whoa, 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 we can't let a Republican or a Democrat, basically, we can't let the other guy get in because we're going to support this Ross Perot guy. I'm supporting Bush, I'm supporting Clinton, and then his numbers would tank. That's normally how you would expect it to work. But the reality is that Perot was actually popular, and people liked his ad spots on television where he would promote his campaign via infomercial. He was very affable. He was likable. He was maybe not the most refined person to go into politics, but he did have a grasp of the issues. He was basically Trump, but not Trumpy, if that makes any sense. Believe it or not, Trump got his start in politics within the Reform Party, which Perot founded. And I actually do think he could have won. If he didn't drop out of the race, I don't think his polling numbers decline really much at all. He probably hovers in the high 20s to mid 30s. And then after the debates, maybe he gets a little bit of a bump, and we could see a few other states flip to Perot. such as in Illinois, maybe in New York. And maybe it has some effect on which states in the Deep South vote for who. Probably not Arkansas or Tennessee, but maybe a Louisiana, maybe a West Virginia or Kentucky or Georgia. Um, Maybe Illinois votes for Perot, or Iowa, maybe Missouri. Now, whether or not he'd be a successful president or even win a second term, it's a different question altogether. I definitely think that if he decided after he won the presidency, let's assume he does, he decides to form his own party, as he did in real life, and let's say he calls it the Reform Party, um, they would probably have gained a few seats in the House and maybe a Senate seat in a place like Maine or something like that. Um, would it be enough to say flip control of either chamber? No, probably not. Would it be enough to have some influence? Yeah, it kind of would. And they'd probably operate in the way of, say, a minority government. And the way that works is basically they'll say, well, I'm going to work with, let's say it gives a hung control in the House or the Senate, or even doesn't do that, but the Reform Party says, you know what, we're going to work with whichever party is in control to pass what we agree with them on. And that can work. Is it tough to make it work? Yeah, of course. But so is anything in politics. So I genuinely do believe Perot had a chance of winning in '92, and I think him dropping out of the race probably changed American politics more than most people realize. And we could have been talking about a President Perot. Would the map have looked like this had he won? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. As a matter of fact, it'd probably look significantly different. But the other thing is, Perot would not win in the House of Representatives, so he would have to win via the Electoral College. Because I don't really see the House voting for him. Anyway, that's going to end it for today. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see y'all next time. Take it easy. Have a very nice evening. See y'all next time. Bye-bye.